Jordan Dollinger, Informative Speech, April 12, 2015. If we can't live in peace, then let us die in peace, said Jim Jones just moments before 914 people were poisoned to death. But was this mass suicide or mass murder? Some experts say that Jim Jones brainwashes people into believing that he was their god and that they were under some sort of blind obedience. Jim Jones made people truly believe that he was God, and unfortunately it was the end to over 900 people. Let me give you a little bit of history about James Warren Jones, who was also known as Jim Jones. According to a biography published on biography.com, James Warren Jones was born May 13, 1931, in Crete, Indiana, to James and Lynetta Jones. At the age of 10, he began his personal religious quest by visiting churches. After visiting all the churches in Lynn, Indiana, he befriended a Pentecostal minister. He began taking what he learned at the churches and preaching to the other children in his town. Jones was a strong student but had very few friends. He had a very overpowering aura about him, and he did not enjoy typical teenage boy activities, for in his eyes these activities were considered sinful. After his parents' divorce, Jones and his mother moved to Richmond, Indiana. Here he worked at a hospital as an orderly. He graduated from high school early in December 1948, and the following January he was enrolled at Indiana University, where he met and married his wife, Marceline. Now that you know more about Jim Jones, let me tell you about the paradise that he dreamed of building. According to Catherine Lofton, the People's Temple was created in 1952. Robinson notes that the church was originally structured as an interracial mission, which was almost completely unheard of, for the sick, homeless, and the jobless. Jason Sherman adds that Jim Jones claimed to have special powers to heal the sick and dying. His staged healings were very popular at the People's Temple meetings. He called himself a prophet, and the followers called him Father. As the church population grew, Jones preached less about the Bible and more about social activism. At the height of his darker power, former followers began to accuse Jones of physical and sexual abuse, mind control, and forced druggings. Robinson states that after a government investigation began into his cures for cancer, heart disease, and arthritis, Jones decided to move to Ukiah in North California. In 1977, after a suspicion rose of yet more illegal activities, which included diverting income, possessions, homes, and even children of cult members to his own use, Jones moved the group to Jonestown, Guyana. The next two specific days, according to a documentary written by Jason Sherman, are crucial for understanding the massacre of Jonestown. On Friday, November 17, 1978, Charles Gary, the lawyer of People's Temple, was summoned to deal with Congressman Leo J. Ryan and take him to Jonestown due to a final decision made by Jones. Gary thought of an ultimatum. Either he was to grant the congressman access, or Jones could continue to tell everyone to go to hell and lose the help of Gary. Jones finally decided to grant access. The followers were to rehearse what to say and what to do when these newcomers asked them questions. Know that you have never ever been loved so much as I do right now. These were the words spoken by Jones shortly before the outsiders arrived. As Jim Jones was being interviewed by crew members from NBC, he seemed paranoid and distant. A follower named Vernon Gosney decided he no longer wanted to stay in Jonestown, so he wrote Congressman Ryan a note. Unfortunately, he did not give it directly to Ryan, but the congressman did find out about it and was now aware that there were people wanting to leave the camp. On Saturday, November 18, 1978, many of the followers did not know that this was their last day. Within hours of being ready to leave, about a dozen people decided that they wanted to leave the compound and return to the United States. At this, Jones looked broken, but extremely angry. For him, things were spiraling out of control. A truck was taking the news crew and some of those who chose to leave, also called defectors, to the airstrip. Before taking off, a group of Jones followers opened fire on the defecting group, killing 5 people, including Congressman Ryan, and wounding 11 others. The White Knight was set in place. Potassium cyanide was mixed with sedatives and tranquilizers, which was then added to a fruit drink. The followers were then instructed to drink the mixture. No man may take my life from me, but I may lay my life down, said Jim Jones while trying to comfort the dying people. The children were first, and if they resisted, they were given shots of the mixture. Lay down your life with dignity. Don't lay down with tears and agony. I tell you, I don't care how many screams you hear. I don't care how many anguish cries. Death is a million times preferable to 10 more days of this life. If you knew what was ahead of you, you'd be glad to be stepping over. We said, if we cannot live in peace, then let us die in peace. We said 1,000 people who said, we don't like the world the way it is. Take our life from us. We laid it down. We got tired. We didn't commit suicide. We committed an act of revolutionary suicide, protesting the conditions of an inhumane world. These were the last words of Jim Jones before one of his loyal followers shot him in the head. Jones did not want the outside world to know what was going on in his community, so he took matters into his own hands. As we look back on the history of Jim Jones made, we can clearly see that he had not only had mental issues, but also had a severe drug problem, giving him the God complex. So do we classify this as a mass murder or a mass suicide? We may never really know the answer to that question, and we may never understand why those 914 people chose to die the way they did on that fateful day.